everyone, this is Kim. I appreciate you coming by my channel, Kim Can't Stop Crafting, and I'm a design team member for Country Craft Creations. And I wanted to show you my recent mini album that I've made using the paper collection by Simple Stories. This was the solids that go with it, and it's called Heart. And in the tutorial that follows, you'll hear me call it Heartfelt. I realized halfway through that's called Heart, so that's just the solid paper. And the paper is basically a bereavement type paper, so it's for someone if they've lost someone, a relative, friend, even a pet. So I wanted to do a walkthrough first, and then following this project share, there is a tutorial following for the cover and the pages, so that if you're interested you can make it with the measurements and all that. So the book measures 7 by 7 and has a 2-inch spine, and the back I used is the dark paper. I like to use dark on the back so it doesn't show dirt as much. And the spine, I used a sticker from the sticker sheet that says remember. And then the front, I have some glitter paper layered on top of the collection paper with one of the cards, and it says, "It is hard to forget someone who gave you so much to remember," and that's a quote by Winnie the Pooh. I had a puffy sticker and then this seam binding. So I'll just walk through real quick and show you what the book looks like. There should be quite a bit of room for pictures. I left a lot of the pages somewhat simple so that there is room for pictures. This first, the cover has 4 flaps, and each of the 4 flaps is a pocket, and so it holds paper mat. You can just put in plain paper if you want for them to add pictures, but then this will lift up, and I left that plain at the top. And then here is another pocket page with some cards for them to add pictures. This comes down and it mimics the top, so it's the same paper style, and left that plain. There are 2 side pockets then. Again, they have that pocket so that you have plenty of room to add mementos or photos. Left the side here plain. This one has the same pockets as the other ones. And then when you open that, there is plenty of room for pictures. Okay. This has a lot of space for pictures also. It is a pocket waterfall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 pocket pages. All of them have a tag that you can either journal on or add pictures to. And they, that's probably about, I think it's like 6 inches, the tags are. And I just had a bow there. So I'll just flip through this real quick so you can see how I decorated each page. At the end I show how I decorated too, so I don't need to go super fast on this or go super slow because you'll see it again. And that I just put a card in there. When you turn the page, this has a tag that opens, and then there's a little pocket. I made a pocket here. This opens, and then it flips out one more time. I'm trying to get it all in the camera. And then you have a large page here for pictures. This one, the page stays closed by using this card or this matted paper. 2 little corners to help, that holds that paper. Opens up. This is for journaling. These flip up and down. And then these are 2 separated pockets, just so you can add some tags or, you know, decorative paper, pictures, what have you. Okay. And let's put this back on. When you turn the page, this flips up, and there's room for pictures. This is a thick belly band, and then there's room at the top also. So behind this belly band, I put two papers that they could write on and add pictures. And then the back is a little booklet that's attached to the back cover. It's got a magnetic closure, and it just provides a lot of space. These pages get progressively bigger. I usually added something on the inside left and left the right hand side open. And that's left open also. It's a pocket. I should put something in there, but so that is my memory book using heart. Now you'll notice that there are only 2 pages on a hinge, but yet it holds a ton of pictures, so you get a lot of bang for your buck on this one. So if you're interested in learning how to make and get the measurements for the cover and the page styles, stay tuned. It's following this project share, and any materials that I used were available through Country Craft Creations at the time of this taping. Again, this is Simple Stories, and the paper is called Heart. So thanks for watching, and if you're interested, keep watching for the tutorial. All right, to get started on the cover for the album, remember this is for Heartfelt, the Simple Stories paper that I'm using for this album. This is a 7x7 book, so you're going to need 3 pieces of chipboard. 2 of them measure 7x7. And then this centerpiece, the spine, measures 2x7. Okay. Now when you make your album, you're going to put adhesive on the back of all 3 pieces, and I cover it, and I already did that and laid it down on the paper. So just know that there is adhesive underneath each of these 3 pieces. To wrap your chipboard, then you're going to need 2 pieces of paper that you combine, that you glue together, and the sizes are a 9x12 and a 7x9. Okay, so a 9x12 and a 7x9. And then I overlap them just a hair and glue those 2 pieces together so that you have a long piece that you can wrap your chipboard with. So leaving a 1-inch border, I laid down a 7x7. I put 1/4 of an inch score tape as a spacer. Then I laid down my 2x7 piece. I put another 1/4 inch piece of score tape, and then I laid down my 7x7. You'll also notice that there's a 1-inch border at the bottom and at the top. So being our book was 7x7, that's why we cut our paper to 9 inches. So 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. So I did that off camera just to make this go a little bit faster. After you have your pieces laid out, you do need to put score tape around the perimeter of your chipboard, and I use 3/8. You can use 1/4. You can use art glitter glue. It's whatever you prefer. And then you're going to place your score tape around the perimeter of the paper also. I miter my corners. There's different ways to miter. I happen to have this tool, and I just place it on the corner of my chipboard, and I use a knife to cut it off, and that gives me just the right amount of spacing so that the corner will be covered by the paper. So don't cut your paper if you, obviously a lot of people don't have this tool. If you don't have the tool, just make sure you leave a little bit of a border on your paper and don't go exactly to the chipboard. Okay, so now that we have everything taped, let me move this board out of the way for a second. So now that we have everything taped, I am going to go ahead and fold or wrap the chipboard with the paper. So I'm going to take off the score tape backing. I do the long sides first. By the way, I already also kind of trained the paper, and I lifted it up and folded it or bent it over on all four sides like so. Okay. So now I'm going to also take off these side pieces because they'll get in the way. The side pieces that are on the chipboard. And when I do my covers, I place a thin bead of the art glitter glue up against the chipboard pieces. That seems to help keep the paper nice and flat when you wrap it. So give that a second to soak into the fibers a little bit. And when I wrap this, I start in the middle and then I kind of smooth it out going off to the sides. Okay, so I place my thumbs on the paper and I'm going to move that forward, and then I'm going to start pushing up and out like so. And then you're going to want to take your burnishing tool and just make sure it adheres real well. I am going to burnish the sides then, or the edges, and that makes it real flat and nice looking. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the other long side. So I'll take off the backing. And this one. Okay, I'm going to place my glue just right here around the edge of the chipboard. Okay. Starting in the center, up and out. I don't like the way that looked. Oh, I usually don't have that happen. Let's see if I can straighten that out a little bit. Okay, so I have a little ripple right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it is up high enough that it won't be seen when I cover it with the paper. I'll show you here. Let me flatten out these sides of the edges. So I have a little ripple. Let's see. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it is up high enough that it's not down here real low. So my paper is going to cover that and you'll never know it's there. I hate it when that happens. Usually I don't have that happen, but it does happen, I guess, once in a while. So let's do the sides. Now when you do your sides, remember you have to tuck the paper so that it covers your corners. So you just might want to take your finger and just kind of push that piece in a little bit so that it covers the corner of your chipboard. And I like to put just a little bit of glue here on the edge. And let's bring that up and over and burnish. And let's do the edges. Okay, and one more side. Go ahead and put that bead of glue down here. Tuck in your corner so it covers your chipboard. And bring this up and over your chipboard. Burnish it. And go ahead and do the edge. All right, so there is our cover. I'm going to also talk about the inside flap now. Now the inside flap is four overlapping pockets. So let me tell you what measurements you're going to need. So these are my prototypes. So the top flap that we're going to make is you're going to need a piece of paper that's 7 7/8 by 11. We're going to end up putting our 7 7/8 inch side up in our scoreboard and score it 1/2 on each end. And then on the 11-inch side, we'll do 1/2, 3/4, and 6 3/4. Those are my score marks that I list right here. So let me go ahead and do that one first. So placing the 7 7/8 inch side across the top, we're going to score it 1/2 inch on each end. I'm going to turn it around, do 1/2 inch on the other side. Placing the 11-inch side across the top, we have 3 score marks. We're going to do 1/2, 3/4, and 6 3/4. Okay, so let's continue to work with this one. So this is the shorter, let me see. This is the shorter side, and what we're going to do is trim or miter the edges. So just like so. Okay. Now on the side that we did the 1/2 inch and the 3/4 inch, that's on my left hand side, I'm going to cut off the bottom 1/2 inch score until I get to the 6 3/4 inch score, and then I will angle that corner. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to angle it at the score. That's the 6 3/4 inch score. I'm going to turn my paper and I'm going to trim off that 1/2 inch score as straight as I can. You can put it in your trimmer if you want. Okay. And then let's do that to the other side also. This is my shorter end down here. This is where I have my 1/2 and my 3/4 score at the top there now. Trim off that 1/2 inch piece. I like to get that ridge off there. Okay, so let's go ahead and move that to the side. Let me clean up my scraps here. And now we're going to do the next page, which is going to be the bottom flap. The bottom flap, again, here's my practice sheet. You're going to need a piece that measures 6 3/4 by 6 7/8. You're going to need the pocket piece that we're going to put on top of it. That's going to measure 4 3/4 by 7 7/8. Okay. So when you have that cut, then we're going to place the 6 3/4 inch side across the top of our scoreboard, and we're going to score at 1/2 and 3/4. So 1/2 and 3/4. And that's all you have to do for the scoring on that one. Move that to the side. Let's take our pocket piece. Oops, sorry. The pocket piece. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So with the 7 7/8 inch across the top, I'm going to do 1/2. I'm going to make one turn, 1/2, one turn, and 1/2. So you have the 1/2 inch on the ends of the long side. Let's go ahead and miter the tops. Okay, and then we're going to cut out the squares in the bottom, and I do like to angle those. I don't like that. There we go. And then cut out the other square in the corner at an angle. Okay, so this will be our bottom flap. Let's move that to the side. Now we have to do the 2 side panels, 2 side flaps. So we have 2 sides that will open. You're going to need 2 pieces that measure 6 1/2 by 6 7/8. And then you're going to need 2 pockets to add on top, and those are 4 3/4 by 7. So let's go ahead and do our scoring. So on the 2 pieces that are 6 1/2 by 6 7/8, we're going to place the 6 1/2 inch side across the top. That's the 6 1/2 right there. And we're going to score at 1/2. Or you can score at 6, either way. I'm going to go ahead and do it at 6. You know what? Come on. Just so that you have a 1/2 inch border. Do that on the other one also. 6 1/2 inches is across the top. You can either score at 1/2 if you like doing it on that side, or you can score at 6. Either one works. Okay, the pocket pieces, we're going to do 3 sides at 1/2. So I'm going to start with the 7 inches across the top and do 1/2. Make a turn, 1/2, turn it one more time, 1/2. And the next one is the same, starting with the 7 inches at the top, do 1/2, turn it once, score it 1/2, turn one more time, score it 1/2. Let's go ahead and miter the top here. Cut out your squares at the bottom at an angle. And the other one too. Bottom squares at an angle. Okay, let's get rid of our scrap. So now we'll do the burnishing and the gluing for those 4 pieces. Okay, so let's just use the ones that we ended off with. So these are the ones that we just scored at 1/2 on one end. Go ahead and burnish that. And the other one that we scored at 1/2 inch on one end. Okay, so we're going to have a 1/2 inch on the left and a 1/2 inch on the right, because these will overlap and you'll have one on each side. Let's go ahead and burnish our pocket. On all 3 sides, and the other one. All right, so this one has the 1/2 inch on the left hand side. I'm going to glue my pocket on so that it goes all the way to the bottom, and I line up the two sides. I have a little, okay. I use the art glitter glue. When I glue this down, I put the side pieces underneath the long piece here. Okay, so I tuck in my two side pieces, bring up that bottom piece, line it up at the bottom and on the sides. Go ahead and burnish that on. The ones we're working on right now are the side pieces. Okay, so this will be a flap that opens to the left. The next pocket we'll add on, now I have the 1/2 inch on my right hand side. I have it tucked underneath. Let's add glue to the pocket. And to the bottom. Okay. Tuck in your two sides, bring up the bottom, line it up at the bottom and watch the sides. And burnish. Okay, so those are the two sides that will flap left and right. Let's go ahead and do the bottom flap. That's the one that we scored at 1/2 and at 3/4, and let's burnish those. So we do have a 1/4 inch gusset to allow for, so it doesn't buckle when we put the pieces on. They have some space. Okay, that's going to be our bottom where we did our two scores, and so we have a 1/4 inch gusset. Let's go ahead and burnish our pocket that's going to be adhered onto the top. Okay, and we're going to place it on top of that piece, and again the 1/2 and the 3/4 is at the bottom. So I'm going to tuck those underneath while I adhere this on, and you want to line it up. Don't go over that score mark down there at the bottom. Putting glue on my 1/2 inch sides and the bottom. Okay, tuck the two sides, bring up the bottom, line it up. And the sides. And burnish those down real well. If you have any excess glue, go ahead and get that off there. Okay, now our top piece, I just tried to, this one is all going to be one piece, which is kind of nice. Let's go ahead and burnish all of our score marks. So you know how when you do your scoring and you have that indentation, I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom, the pocket part first, and I'm going to fold into those mountains. And then I'm going to fold up on that middle, or that 6 3/4 score mark, so everything will line up real well. Now I'm going to do the other two scores, the 1/2 and the 3/4, fold those back, because that's what's going to attach to the top. And you have a 1/4 inch gusset again. Okay. So there's our 1/4. Ooh, the light, I didn't realize the lighting was so bad. Go ahead and put glue on your side 1/2 inch flaps. And bring it up and push down and burnish. Okay, so let's get the cover of our book, and we're going to adhere the top and bottom pieces first, and we're going to put adhesive on the 1/2 inch piece. I'm going to turn my book upside down. So this is the top pocket, and you're going to line it up. We made it just a hair shorter. We made it 6 7/8 instead of 7 inches. So I'm just going to center that so that, there we go. I want to make it as straight as possible. Okay. And we're going to the edge of the book at the top. Okay, so just put glue on the 1/2, not the 1/4. And go to the top of your book, almost all the way to the, let's go all the way to the top. And make sure it is even and press down. Okay. So that's the top. Let's turn it around, do the bottom. Now when we adhere this, we want to make sure that it lines up on the sides with the top piece. Okay, so I'm going to open that up, put glue on the 1/2 inch piece, not the 1/4 inch piece. Line it up at the bottom. And I want to make sure that these line up. Burnish. And now we'll do our two side pieces. So I'm going to turn my book to the side. Grab the piece that will go on the left-hand side, and we'll glue that down. We're going to take it all the way to the edge of the book. Okay. You make sure you don't go over those 1/4 inch gusset pieces. Okay. All right, now before we put the second piece on, I do want to put a piece of paper on my spine. So let's go ahead and we're going to do, let me see what the measurements are that we need for that one. The spine piece I cut, I just found a piece of scrap paper that I had, and I think it measured 4 inches across and 6 7/8 inches long. And when I adhere this to my spine, I do a little bit of prep work first. So what I like to do is place a piece of score tape on the chipboard on either side here. Like so. This is 1/4 inch score tape. And on this side. Okay. Make sure that's on real well. Now I also like to then put score tape along the perimeter of the white paper. And I just think it lays better when you do that. And then I just put art glitter glue in the center. Okay, let's go ahead and burnish that. Go ahead and get the backing off of our score tape on the book. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and take the backing off of the paper. And again, this was mine measured 4 and by 6 7/8. And then let's get our glue and put that on the inside. Okay, and I'm going to center that. Like so, and I'm going to burnish it real well. Turn my book here, and I do want to get that in the crease. Now because this is the Artisan cardstock, I can do this without worrying about it ripping, but you might want to be pretty careful if you're using a different type of cardstock. Definitely did not center that. It's way more on this side, but that's okay. All right, so now we can put on that side flap like so. So again, I'm going to turn my book because it's easier for me to work with that way. I'm going to put my glue on the 1/2 inch. And I want to center it, and I want it to make sure it lines up with this one, and I don't want it to go over the score marks. And I don't want it to go over. I'm going to kind of lift this up as a guide so I can see where I'm putting it. Now before I push down too hard, just want to make sure, nope, I got to move this over a hair. Okay. So that gives us a lot of area for pictures. So we'll put decorative paper in here, but then you have some room for photos on all four of these flaps. You'll have room to put mats in the pockets or just pictures on both of these. Same way here, you'll have room in the pocket, and same way here. Now the weight of this will keep it down, but if you want to, you could put some sort of closure here. I might put a, I don't know that I'll put anything. You could put magnets. I don't think I'm going to put anything though. I think it'll stay down just fine. Okay, so that is the left hand side, and now we'll work on the next part. The next thing that you can cut and prepare are the two base pages. This book has a hinge with only 2 pages attached. You're going to need 2 that measure 6 3/4 by 7 7/8, and 2 that measure 6 3/4 by 6 7/8. So if you want to freeze that or take a picture, you're going to place the 7 7/8 inch side on your scoreboard and score it 1/2 inch on each side of the 2 pieces that measured 6 3/4 by 7 7/8. So 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. Okay. Go ahead and burnish your score marks. And those, it'll be a side loading, so you can add something on the side, a mat or something if you want, if you need the extra room for pictures. And then the other pieces will be glued right on top. This sometimes gives me a better burnish than the other one. Okay, so then you'll take your 6 3/4 by 6 7/8. Make sure we've got them the right direction. That is not right. Okay, and you're just going to glue that to the top and to the bottom, and that will become our page. So let me get my art glitter glue. I lost my stainless steel pin, so I'm using a different pin, and sometimes when I take it out, the glue comes out kind of a rusty color. I need to get more stainless steel pins. All right. That's not the right side. Crud buckets. Let me wipe that glue off. Okay, don't do what I did. Make sure you have it the right direction. I want the 6 3/4 going across the top. I better add more glue here. Hold on. Okay. And make sure that's adhered real well by burnishing. And then it should line up perfectly down at the bottom, which it does, being as I caught my mistake in time. Okay, just fold that over. And burnish. So that will be the base page that we attach to the hinge. Okay, and we're going to do both of the pages. So let me go ahead and prep the other one. Making sure that I have the right direction here. Okay, so I'm going to do 1/2 inch at a time. And I'm going to turn it sideways just so it's easier for me to line it up, using my scoreboard to kind of help. Get rid of any excess glue that's coming out there. And make sure that this lines up well, and it does. And burnish. Alright, so we have our 2 base pages done. We'll move those to the side. Let's work on the hinge. Remember, I said it's going to just be 2. You'll need a piece that's 5 by 6 3/4. And these are the score marks. I have them written down here. So I've already scored mine. We're going to start at, let me get to my notes. Oopsie. Okay, we start at 1 inch and score. Let me see if I can get this better for you, so that maybe you can see. Let me zoom in here. Okay. So I'm going to score at 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, and 4. Okay, I'll say those again real quick. 1, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 2 3/4, 3 1/4, 3 3/4, and 4. So our gussets will be 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and start burnishing our score marks. Now I'm going to go to the first hinge, and I usually do that first. So then I am going to pinch it at the top of that hinge and then fold it on the score mark in front and behind it. Okay, so there's our hinge. Now I do need to go back and show you that there is a 1/4 inch edge that we're going to have, and we do that so that we have a little bit of room in case we have some dimension on our page. So then the 3/2 inch is our gusset. So I'm going to go to the last set of 1/2 inch score marks. Whoopsie. Fold that in half and burnish. And then I pinch that together at the top and fold it forward on the score mark and backward. And then we have that 1/4 inch to fold back. Okay. So 2 hinges, like so. Now I am going to put glue. I'm going to use the wet glue in between here to keep my hinge together, or my one of my hinge pieces. Let's do that one first. Give it a second to dry. Okay, and then let's glue the second one together. It's really hard, I know, to see that. Fold that over to form the second 1/2 inch hinge, and burnish and make sure that it dries. Okay, so you can see the 2 hinges. So now we're going to wrap the excess around. Now let's get our book here. So this is just going to go in the center, and I have some excess that I'm going to have to trim off. Yeah. So we want it to wrap around. I don't like the wings, so I don't leave mine like this. I tuck the excess behind. So because I do that, I do need to trim off some of the wingspan so that it can wrap neatly without having any buckling. So I'm going to take probably just about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch off on each side. So let me get my cutter. And I'm just going to take You know what, it might be easier on my other cutter. Let me get the other one. This should not be that difficult. Okay. Okay, and let's see if that does the trick. Nope, I gotta still trim a little bit off of this one. So I would redo that instead of saying, well, I was gonna say instead of making it 5 inches, maybe 4.5. And let's see, that does the trick. Okay, and then we're just going to glue that down on the back. Okay, so I'm going to put adhesive glue here. And I'm going to bring that around. And I want to burnish that so it stays. And then the other piece, which I cut pretty short, wrap that around. And I need to burnish that one. So we have that thin hinge, and lately I have been putting decorative paper in my gussets, so I might do that for this one too. We can set that hinge piece to the side, and now we need to do the back cover, which is going to be a waterfall, and instead of, you can choose which direction you want. I'm going to have mine open like a book, left to right. You can choose to have it open up at the top too. So because it's a 6 7/8 by 6 7/8 inch square base, you can decide later after you make it too. Okay, so here are the pieces, the sizes that we need for the waterfall. The base is 6 7/8 by 6 7/8. The pages that we're going to adhere to that, all of them are going to be 6 7/8 of an inch tall, and then I need one that's 5 inches by 6 7/8. Then go in 1/2 inch increments, so 5 1/2 by 6 7/8, 6 by 6 7/8, 6 1/2 by 6 7/8, and then the last one is 7 by 6 7/8. So they're 1/2 inch increases. And then the closure I did 2 inches by 5 1/2 inches. Okay, so the base we don't do any scoring, but on all of the pages, so mine are 6 7/8 inches tall, and so on the 5 inch side I scored it 1/2. On the 5 1/2 inch piece, score it 1/2. On the 6 inch side, score it 1/2. On the 6 1/2 inch, score it 1/2. And then finally on the 7 inch, score at 1/2. Okay. Oh, and then on your closure with the 5 1/2 inches across the top, I scored it 1/2 also. Okay, so now it's time to burnish all of those score marks. And like I said, you can decide once you put it together which direction you want to adhere it to your book, either opening side to side or up and down. Oh, I measured this wrong. I forgot. Yeah, I sure did. It's so stupid. I wasn't thinking that they're 1/2 inch off. Yeah. Unless I do them on top. That's going to make it pretty thick though, isn't it? I really was not thinking on this. Let me see how thick that would make it. Well, let's see what happens. If it gets too thick, I can readjust the measurements, but I know that you've already cut yours. But it's better that we cut it too big than too small. Oh, some days. I did not do a sample one of this one first, thinking, oh, I've done plenty of waterfalls. Okay. So see, this is going to be way, maybe I just need to do less pieces. We might have just cut an extra one. Let's see. Well, crud buckets. What do I want to do here? Sorry about this. So see, that makes it pretty thick if I do it this way. But being as it's on the back cover, that might not make a difference. Alright, you're listening to me problem solve here, so just bear with me. You know what? I don't think that would be awful. Yep, so it's not a it's a waterfall, but it's a booklet waterfall. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So the measurements we're going to keep the same. We're just going to adhere it a little bit differently. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. Starting with the base piece then, and the largest piece, we're going to attach that one down on the bottom first. And if it bothers you and you don't want that thickness, you can go ahead and do the regular waterfall and adjust your measurements, because I don't want to waste any of my paper. Alright. And let's make sure that lines up all right. And we want to burnish it really well so it lays as flat as possible. Okay. So now we're just going to place the next in decreasing order, descending order. Now we'll place the next one on top. And we'll burnish it real well and flatten it as much as we can. I like to use the side of my scoreboard to help me line things up. Okay. Burnish, burnish. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, we're gonna be fine. All right, let's do the next one in descending order. Okay, and we'll lay that right on top. Okay, there's the thickness so far, so it's not terrible. And then we have two more. I'm going to do this one on top of the smallest one on top, and then I'll attach the two together. Now again, if you're not using Artisan, be careful. This is really durable paper, so I'm giving it a real firm press. And now we'll attach those like so. Okay. I'm going to turn this sideways. And let's go ahead and do that burnishing bit again. All right, so there is our booklet. Okay. I'm going to put the closure on the base piece, and I'm just going to eyeball it to center it. We'll end up putting a magnet on there, but I'm just going to eyeball it. So flip up that last page. Okay. And we'll be putting a magnet here and here so that it stays closed. And now we are going to attach that to our back cover. And I think I'm going to put score tape around the outside, and then I will put glue on the inside just so that it sticks real well along the edges. You can use whatever adhesive you like. All four sides. And last one here. As close to the edge as I can get it. And then I'm going to burnish that so it sticks. Now again, you might choose to do yours like this so that it flips up. I'm choosing to do mine sideways, like so. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and peel off the backing. And then I'll add my glue. So I don't want this book to be so difficult to make, because if you do choose to give this to someone who has lost someone, you might need to make it kind of quickly, and so you don't want it to be too hard that you're stressing over it. So even though it'll be interactive and have flips and all that kind of pockets, we want it to be a quick book, and that's why I made it a 7x7 instead of a bigger one. And it'll still hold your 4x6 pictures nicely. Alright, so I want it to, I got to stand up for this so I can see. Alright, I'll open up that back page. And I'm going to burnish it real well. Okay. Alright, so now let's attach our hinge. I think I am going to put decorative paper down first. Instead of keeping it white, I'm going to put a decorative piece down, and then I also will put it in the 1/2 inch. So I want to measure, this is 6 7/8 that I'll need for the height, because it's a 7-inch book, so I'm going to go 6 7/8. And then for the width, I know it's a 2-inch, let's go 1 7/8 then on the decorative paper, and then we'll adhere the hinge. We're going to start on the first page. I went ahead and put my spine piece in. I am using the Tim Holtz Evergreen bow, I don't know. Anyway, as the ink on the edge. And I did go ahead and put score tape along the top of each of the hinges. Okay, so page 1, let's work on that. So this is our base page, remember. Here are the measurements of the paper that you'll need for the front. So you're going to need 2 that measure 4 by 7 6/8. Now for that piece, I used a decorative punch, so I went 4 inches. If you're not going to use a decorative punch, you would do probably 3 7/8. You're going to need 2 that measure 2 by 2, 2 that measure 4 1/4 by 6 3/4, and then 2 that measure, sorry for the weird measurements, but 4 7/16 by 4 1/2. And that's because our page is 6 7/8 inch tall, so that affected this measurement. So these are the measurements for the front. Okay, so let's work with those front pieces. You're going to take the 2 pieces. Now see, here's the decorative punch that I used. And because I did 4 inches, I went ahead and did my decorative punch, and then you're going to need to put the 4 inches or the 3 7/8 across the top and just do 1/2 inch for your scoring, and that's going to be the left hand side flap. And you're going to do another one that's exactly the same, decorative punch on the 4 inch or 3 7/8 inch, whatever you choose. It's going to be 1/2 inch. Go ahead and burnish those, and then those are going to be 2 doors that open up. Okay, now on these doors we're going to have 2 little corner pieces that we can put a tag in to help keep these doors closed, okay, because they'll line up like this. And so by putting these 2 little pockets on the, or 2 little corner pieces, we'll be able to hold a tag. So the 2 by 2 pieces, I did 3/8 of an inch score rather than 1/2 of an inch. So 3/8 on one side, 3/8 on the other side, so that it's like in the shape of an L. And then you need to do that with the other piece also. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out that square in the corner at an angle. And so you'll see that we still have the square, but I'm going to end up cutting a piece off at a diagonal. So let me go ahead and cut this one off. So this one is that side. And let's go ahead and fold those on the score. I probably should burnish these, but I'm going to go ahead and just, I'm not that picky. I could just do a cut. I better do my cutter. So with the folded part on my left, I'm going to put this crooked or sideways here, and I'm just going to, I'm not even going to measure. I'm just going to do what I like the looks of. Okay, like so. And then now I want to do the other one the same, so I'll just use that piece that I cut off. Is this the piece I just cut off? Yes. So I will just take that piece and, is that right? Or do I need to do it like this? Nope, it was the other way. Yep, okay, so I'm just going to lay that on top and use that as a pattern. and cut. Okay. So we're going to place one of these on the bottom corner on there. And let me get my glue and we'll do that right now. And we want it all the way in the corner with the 1/2 inch folded back. Okay. So there's one, and then we'll put the other one over here. All right. Like so. And so we'll cut out a mat that's probably about 5.5 to 6 inches, and then however tall you want it, just to keep the doors closed. Okay, so there's those two pieces. The two pieces that we cut at 4 1/4 by 6 3/4, you're going to place the 6 3/4 side on your or was it 7? 6 3/4, yeah, 1/2 inch with the 6 3/4 side on along the top. I did use a decorative corner punch on mine, and you'll do that to both pieces. So 6 3/4 along the top, 1/2 inch. Okay, these will be flaps that go up and down. The last piece, two pieces, are two pockets to hold tags. These are the ones that measure the weird dimensions. So these are 4 7/16 by 4 1/2. Place the 4 7/16 inch along the top, score it 1/2, turn it to the 4 1/2, 1/2, turn it back to the 4 7/16, do it in half, score it a half. Do that to both pieces, again starting with the 4 7/16 piece at the top, half, one turn, half, back to the 4 7/16 along the top, half. Okay, and these are going to be pockets, so let's go ahead and prepare those by cutting out the squares at the bottom at an angle and then mitering the top piece. Okay, like so. And this one the same way. And then the top. Okay. And let's go ahead and attach those pieces to our book. Make sure that you have your base page so that it opens on the left and the right so that you're putting it on correctly. Let's start with the doors. Let's see here. Yep, that's what I want to do first, is the doors. So let's place our left and right hand door on first. Okay, and I do turn mine sideways just so it's easier for me to glue it and look at it. so I can see that I'm lining it up correctly all the way to the edge. Make sure it's lining up top and bottom also. Then you can go ahead and open it up and burnish it. Let's go ahead and do the second door. Turn it this way so I can see better. All the way to the edge. And make sure it's lining up top and bottom. Okay. Now we're going to use the two flaps, and we're going to place those one on the top, and they will overlap. We don't want to go over our score line so that our door closes. Okay. And then the other one will go down here. Now you can choose to do this one at the bottom and this one at the top. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so it's whatever your preference is. I'm going to go ahead and do the top flap closer to the left-hand side. And I'm going to turn it around so that I can have it close to me. Now you don't want to go over that score because you want it to line up, have the door close without any buckling. So that's fine. And now let's do the other one down here. It's going to go on the bottom right side. Make sure that it closes without buckling, so don't go over that score line. All right. And now the two pockets will go here. Now remember, this will be stay closed. When you put the mat on here. So when we do our pockets, we want to make sure we don't go over the score line on either the flap or on the door. So I haven't burnished mine yet, so let me do that. And I'm going to get the one, this just seems to give me a better burnish lately. Tammy does sell these at Country Craft Creations, these phone folders. It is the EK Success Tools. And the other pocket. You'll want to do a dry fit just to make sure that they fit in there correctly and adjust as needed. So, okay, so once we have everything open, let's do a dry fit. I gotta trim this. All right. is going to be pretty close. Yep, that's going to work. Okay, so we want to go as close to the flap as we can so that it fits on there nice and snug, but it doesn't have any overhang or any buckling. So as close as you can with still getting that flap to close nice. Okay. So check this, and we are good on this one. I purposely made it a little bit shorter so that when this is closed, you don't see the end of that pocket, but you will see a tag coming out. And let me turn this, and now let's make sure. Okay, so now I'm going to have to adjust a hair. So because mine goes up a little bit, I'm going to take my paper and put it in my scoreboard, and I'm just going to do another score mark just on the inside here because mine is just a hair too big. So easily fixed. I'm going to score right here, right? It's the closest one that's at 3 7/8. Okay. And what I'll have to do now is trim this and reburnish, and it's not much different at all. So again, it's better to have it too big than too small. Let's see if that did the trick. That's why you do a dry fit first. See if that works better. Yes, that did it. Just needed to do a little bit of adjustment. All right, so I'll put my adhesive on. Tuck the two sides in, then bring up the bottom as close as I can to that other one. Now you will probably have to burnish this again just to make sure it lays flat. Burnish this again. All right. Perfect. And so let me show you what I'm talking about. Get a piece of scrap paper here. So then you'll make a mat, and now that's too big, of course, but it'll slide in like so, and that will keep the doors closed. Okay, so let's work on the back. So let's turn that over. The back is just a real simple belly band with the flap. So you're going to need one that measures 4.5 by 7 3/4 and one that measures 5 by 6 3/4. Okay. The piece that measured 4.5 by 7 3/4, go ahead and place your 7 3/4 inches across the top. Score it 1/2 and 1/2 on each end. the piece that measured 5 by 6 3/4, you're going to put the 5 inches across the top, score at 1/2. Okay, let's go ahead and burnish. And this one with the 1/2 inch on each side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to place this flap on top of the belly band, like so, and then it'll flip up, and you'll be able to put a mat behind here, and we'll put a stopper down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the flap to my belly band first. And you just want to make sure that it lines up on all sides. Like so, and then we're going to center this. You can measure it if you want. I eyeball. And we'll place that on the back. And let's eyeball the centering here. Go ahead and burnish that. And that's all we're doing on the back. All right, so page style 1 is done. And that goes open. Okay, so now we are ready for page style 2. Okay, page style 2. These are the size pieces that you're going to need to cut out. One of each of these. So one at 5 by 10, one at 3.5 by 6.5, and one that measures 1 by 5. So let's start with the 5 by 10 piece. And I already did my scoring, so you're going to place the 10 inches across the top and score at 1/2 and at 5.5. And that's all for that one. So when you burnish it, you want to take the 1/2 inch, and it's going to go under, and the 4.5 will go under. Okay? So it's not like a Z or anything, it's like so. The piece that you cut at 3.5 by 6.5, we're going to turn it into a tag. So go ahead and angle your corners and hole punch the top center. And the 1 by 5 is going to become a hinge. So on the 1 inch side, score at 1/2, like so. And that's all we're going to do for the front of page 2. So let's put everything together. We're going to start with the long piece, and we're going to center that on the left hand side, and it's going to be like so. So let's go ahead and put adhesive on our 1/2 inch strip here. And I'm going to turn it sideways, make sure it's open. Okay, and I'm just going to eyeball this and center it. going to go ahead and burnish that real well. Okay, so that ends up being a flap that opens like so. Now on this flap we're also going to have a tag, so I'm going to place the 1/2 inch, the 5-inch side on top of the panel that we just put on, and it's going to open to the left. Yeah, open to the left. So place glue on this side. And I'm going to turn it so it's easier for me. I like it like this. And I'm just going to place this on top of there. Line it up. Okay. And then I'm going to glue the tag on top of that. And again, I'm going to center that so that you have the same amount at the top as the bottom. Turn it this way. Put the glue on the 1/2 inch strip here. And there we go. Okay, so that's the front. And now the back is a little bit more busy. So here are the measurements for the back. So it's going to be a pocket waterfall. My hands are filthy, sorry. So 6 at 4 by 9, 6 at 3 3/4 by 6, and then 1 at 5 by 2.5, or if you like a taller pocket, you might go 5 by 3. It's your personal preference. I think mine, I had a scrap paper that was 3, so I think I did 3. Okay, so those are the measurements for the back. So let's start with the 3 3/4 by 6 pieces, and those are going to become tags. So take your corner, I use this one. It's the crocodile chomper, and there's a small angle and a large angle, and I do the large angle, and I just did both the top corners, and then I will go back and put holes in the top of the center with just a regular old hole punch. So okay, so that's all you do with those, because those will go in the pocket. The small piece that was 5 by 2.5 or 5 by 3, place your 5 inches across the top, score it half, make a turn, oh, if I can get it out of there, score it a half again, and one more turn at a half. So this does become a pocket. So we are going to take out those squares on the corner at an angle, and miter at the top, or angle it. And let's go ahead and burnish that while we're working on it. Okay, now the next one, you'll do this 6 times. So this is the 4 by 9 piece. Place your paper with the 9 inches going across the top, and you're going to make 3 score marks, one at 1/2, one at 4.5, and one at 8.5. half, 4.5, 8.5. Okay, so on the 8.5, geez Louise, oh, for Pete's sake, score it in at the 4.5 mark. Well, not score, but burnish it. Then take that 1/2 inch and fold it down towards the inside. And then the other 1/2 inch goes to the back. So if you look at a side angle, that's what it would look like. We are going to place glue. You know what? Let's go ahead and miter the 1/2 inch. So this is going to get glued on top here. So we're going to place glue on the left hand side and on this 1/2 inch, and that's going to form a side pocket with a 1/2 inch piece to adhere down for a waterfall. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put glue and just a thin line on the left hand side. Lay it down and burnish it. So that way our pockets are closed at the end and our tags won't go all the way through. And then this will be how we adhere it to the book. So the tags that we cut should slide in like so, and it'll be a waterfall with those, and then I'll have the hole here with the ribbon coming out. So let's see how this fits. I think I eyeballed it right, but we'll see. Let's see how it works on the page. Alright, so let's turn this over. I'm going to use my scoreboard as a way to line things up. Alright, so here we go. First pocket. I burnish these really well, or I hope I did. And always make sure then that the side that's open is on the right. Let's place glue on the 1/2 inch. And we're going to place that in the upper left hand corner of our page and burnish it down. There's flip number 1. Now let's do the second one, and this one we butt up against that 1/2 inch piece that's laying down. So I'm going to put that back up in the corner, and we're going to line this up like so. I got to move it down so I can see it. All right. And up against that 1/2 inch. And burnish that puppy down. Now we have 2. Third one, butt it up right against that 1/2 inch piece that's down there. Burnish it down. This is going to be a little bit thicker than a normal waterfall just because of the pocket feature. Okay, we've got 3. Fourth one. Line her up. Burnish. One, two, three, 4. We have a 5th one. Line it up. All right, now you can see that we have more than a 1/2 inch left over down at the bottom. So I'm just going to set the last one on here and see. It's not evenly spaced. There's less at the bottom, but I'm okay with that. There's like a 1/4 of an inch. If that bothers you, then you might want to readjust the measurements, but it doesn't bother me. Okay, last one then. And burnish. And then we're going to place the pocket so that it can hold a cut apart, or one of the cut aparts. It's going to go right down here like so that when you flip this open you have a pocket. All right, and that is about it. And then our construction part's done, and it's just time to cover with your paper and add your decorative elements, which is the fun part. Makes it come to life. Line it up with the bottom and the left-hand side. Now let's put the tags in just to see if that weights it down. I didn't plan on any kind of closure, so I might have to rethink that. And let me think about this closure thing for a second. And the last one. So that is that, and I think it'll lay down okay because of the weight of the tags and stuff. And then I'll probably, like I said, I'll have hole punched the center, and then I'll have some seam binding coming off the edge, And that is our pocket waterfall. So this should hold a lot of pictures. I like it. Okay, and that is the construction for the second page. And so now, like I said, it's just a matter of decorating. And then after we decorate, you put them on the hinges, and that will be our book. All right, so it's time to decorate, and I'll be back and show you what each of the pages, what I come up with. Okay, a couple of things. I'm switching up the pages so that page style 1 is now page style 2, and page style 2 is now page style 1. It just worked out better once I started decorating and looking at my book and the thickness of it and stuff. So this is actually going to be my page 1. Let's take a look at how this one, so I just had a die and I made a bow and this little circle thing, but all of the tags have this color on one side and then this color on the other, and then I just put a strip of the gold Tim Holtz glittery washi tape on each side just to give it some sparkle, because I added some glitter paper on the front cover, and so I thought that helped carry it through the rest of the book. So I originally had longer strings and I had to cut that, and that's also why it became page 1 instead of page 2. It just dealt with the thickness. So all of the tags are the same, and I just alternated them in my book. So that's yellow, green, yellow, green. As I decorated the inside, sometimes I used a cut apart, sometimes I just used the paper and then added elements from the paper. I did leave these open for tuck spots. So this was a cut apart and this was too, so I didn't add anything extra. Same here. This one I had a heart die that I used, and that tied in well with the theme. These two were cut aparts, and then I just added a little corner piece here that can tuck, and I had a little heart that I glued on, and then I just put in one of the cut aparts down here in this pocket. So that is going to be the first page, and then when you turn it over, we have our tag. I had got these puffy gold hearts. I have a lot of stuff in my stash, which is helpful when you're doing this stuff, because then you don't have to go out and buy it. But I go out and buy it anyway, don't get me wrong. So I put a bow. This is a remember card from the collection. On the other side, I made a little pocket and put a cut apart in here. This is some of the glitter paper I have also. I wanted to carry it through from the cover. Cut apart. When you turn it, I just cut out this heart. It was on a cut apart, and I just cut out the heart and glued it to the side, and then put tuck that underneath. This trim I got from the store, and you have to be careful when you cut it because it does unravel really easy. So when you want to get a full loop, make sure you're cutting off. If you cut right at the end, the loop will come loose. So you have to be careful when you cut that. And then when you open it, I left one open for pictures. This became a pocket by just taking a little piece and gluing it down. I cut out this little doily from one of the cut aparts, added a heart, and then just added 2 of the cut aparts. What's that one say? Cherish. Okay. Left this one plain for picture. This is a die that I have, and then I added a flower sticker. Okay, so that, like I said, becomes page 1, and then page 2 looks like this, and this keeps the doors closed, and I just mounted it on one side, and those are the corners to keep the paper in. Here's that trim again. I left this inside pretty basic because you don't want it to get too thick, because we didn't add a little gusset on the side doors. If you wanted this to be a little bit more roomy, you would want to give yourself another probably 1/8 to 1/4 inch on your door so that it would give it some space. So just used a cut apart here. This one says, "Those we love can never be more than the thought away. For as long as there's a memory, they live in our hearts to stay." And then on the 2 pockets, I used cut aparts. I just cut out some shapes from my from a die that I have, and I also used cut aparts. And those go back in there like so. Okay, so that is the front of page 2. Let me stick this back in there to keep this from flopping open. On the other side, use the trim again. I have, this is kind of a goldish center. I don't know, I don't think you can tell in the camera, but I had a flower that matched. This lifts up and plain for pictures. And then I put I just matted 2 papers to put underneath this belly band, like so. Okay, and we will be attaching these to the hinge here in just a second. Let me show you. Also, I added 2, our pages are open on the side, so I made 2 inserts that measure 6 by 6 1/4, and then I left the back plain, and these are the stickers from the collection. So I made 2 of those to slip inside. Here's the front cover. I have glitter paper in my stash, like I said, and I just layered a lot of papers to kind of give it some interest, but I wanted the cover to be pretty simple. And I kind of wanted the inside to be somewhat simple. I really wanted the focus to be on the pictures because it's such a important book for someone, and that someone is my aunt. I'm giving it to my Aunt Lori. My uncle, I loved him to pieces, and he passed away. So this is real simple. The gold heart, puffy heart, this is seam binding, and then a cut apart, and like I said, I just matted the papers. I put the remember sticker on the side, and I just left the back a solid. On the inside, I used the trim. I just used scraps for the mats on the inside of these pockets, so whatever I had, I just put paper on them and then just used some of the extra cut aparts inside. I left the top and the bottom plain for pictures. I don't really like this page, but I had already glued it, so I couldn't go back and fix it. But I put this trim here in what's the word? Not an oval, but curve. And I didn't like the way that looked, so then I saw the flags in the sticker collection, so I put that there, and it doesn't really wow me, but that's what I did. Put a heart sticker here, and then I have 3 crystal blings down here. Again, I used whatever size paper I had left over. These I didn't do any decorating because you don't want it to get too thick, so I just added, there should be a lot of places for pictures in this book. And then this page mimics that one. And this one, I wanted to use this cut apart for journaling because there's lines on it. So it wasn't long enough, so I just added a strip of paper down here at the bottom. And then I just put this sticker down here. So lots of room for pictures. On the back cover, I ended up bending this just a hair, not a lot, but I didn't want it to be flat, so I gave it just a little bit of, I kind of like rounded it off a little bit and kind of pushed it off to the side just to give it a little bit of depth so that it closes the pages fine, and I didn't want it to affect the magnet, so you don't have to do that. It still would have worked, but I wanted to be able to train this belly closure so that when you add pictures and it gets a little bit thicker, that this will still work fine, if that makes sense. Mounted this on some glitter paper. That's a sticker, and then I just went through and I added more glitter paper to try and continue that, and I just made it real simple. These are all open, and then this is open. You know what, I should probably put something in there. I have extra cut aparts and stuff. Also, I have been calling this paper heartfelt. That would be wrong. This paper is called Heart, So I'll have to put a note on the video when I fix it and when I record or finish with the recording. So anyway, now it's time to add the pages on our hinges. I have score tape on the tops of each of the hinges, and I'm going to put page 2 on first, and I just want to give it a dry run first to make sure I don't need to angle, and I don't. You don't want your page to go all the way down to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel back a little bit of the score tape. I used to take the whole thing off, but then if you get it on wrong, ooh, that's not fun to take off. Come on, score tape. There. I can't get it. There we go. And I'm just going to bend that over on each side. All right. And let's open this up a little bit. Make sure you got the side you want facing the front. That one. Paper started going back on. Okay. Okay. About like so. Then rip this piece off and press it together real well. I'm wondering if glue, if I'm going to eventually resort to glitter glue on the hinge. I think I've done it once. Wondering if that'll last or stay, if it's stronger. I don't know. All right, and now let's do the front page. I'm going to peel back, dry run first. So this one's a thick page. Gotta make sure I get it open the right part. Yep, that's gonna work. Okay, so let's go ahead and peel back the tape backing again. And this side. So I've been downstairs all day working on this book because our air conditioner went out and it's 80 degrees or plus in our house, and the only cool place is in the basement. So tomorrow we have a guy coming out, so I hope I get to drop a whole bunch of money on a new air conditioning and furnace unit. Okay. Let's see. And we want to line this up so it's at the same point as the other page. Oopsie. Get on there. This page. There we go. Okay, this is irritating me. Patience. I'm going to start at the top and see if that helps. Yes, it did. Don't go all the way to the bottom. Take off the score tape. Okay, it's where I want it on that side. Push real well. All right, there we go. Oops, I gotta put this back on. And that is the top, and that's our book. So this tutorial was just to show you how to do the page construction and the cover. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, this paper, oh, let me put these in just to see. And I left a little out so that you can see to pull that. There we go, perfect. Most of the materials I used are from countrycraftcreations.com. I had a couple things in my stash, but just as a reminder, this book measures 7 by 7, and the spine was 2 inches. So if you have questions, let me know. Hopefully you'll find a good use for this paper so that you can gift someone or make it a little bit easier for a memory for someone. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. Delaney?